Something is shifting in silence, and it has everything to do with you. While they seem distant, calm, maybe even unaffected on the outside, a powerful decision is forming within them, and it's reaching a point where it can no longer be ignored. Welcome to Jungian Pulse, where we explore the hidden battles of the mind and heart. And today we're diving into the silent inner conflict that's pushing someone toward a life-changing decision about you. There's something shifting beneath the quiet, and if you've been sensing it lately, you're not imagining things. Deep inside them, a final choice is taking shape, one that carries your imprint. On the surface, they may seem composed, distant, even unaffected, but underneath, something far more powerful is unfolding. A truth they once tried to avoid has grown too strong to ignore, and here's what most people never realize. This isn't only about whether they miss you, or whether they'll come back or walk away. It goes deeper than that. It's about what your connections stirred within them, what it revealed, what it forced them to confront when they could no longer escape it. Stay with this, because this moment matters. What they're deciding now isn't light or temporary. It's a defining point. They're standing at the edge of something that could reshape their entire path. Whether they move closer to you or step away, they won't leave this phase unchanged. You need to understand something clearly. The tension you've been feeling has a purpose. The distance has a purpose. Even the silence carries meaning. Beneath it all, an internal struggle is reaching its peak, and what happens next will expose who they truly are. What you're sensing isn't just hope or imagination. It's real. It's the quiet movement of someone facing themselves because your presence touched something deep inside them, something they can't easily silence. They're at a crossroads now, and no matter which way they turn, every path somehow leads back to you. For a long time, they tried to distract themselves. They buried their attention in routine, work, pride, and distance. They told themselves that time and space would weaken what they felt. But some connections don't fade like that. The more they tried to suppress it, the stronger it became. The more they labeled it as temporary, the more it proved to be something lasting, unfinished, alive. That's because what you shared was never surface level. It reached into deeper parts of them, the parts that don't disappear when things get uncomfortable. And now they're doing something they didn't expect. They're reflecting, not just on what you meant to them, but on what this connection reveals about who they've become. This is where everything begins to shift. The moment someone questions the story they've been telling themselves, change is already in motion. The choice they're struggling with isn't simply about staying or leaving. It's about whether they're ready to face their true self. That's the real fear. One side of them feels pulled toward you in a way that feels natural, almost inevitable. Your absence doesn't feel neutral. It feels like something missing, something unresolved that keeps drawing their attention back. But another part of them resists just as strongly, because acknowledging their feelings would require vulnerability. It would mean opening up, dropping the act of strength, and actually living it. And real change is uncomfortable. It breaks old patterns. It challenges the identity that once kept them safe. That's why the energy feels heavier now. That's why the connection feels more intense, even in silence. They're no longer just running from the truth. They're starting to sit with it. They're asking themselves difficult questions. Why do you still occupy their thoughts? Why does your memory return in quiet moments? Why hasn't anyone else been able to replace what they felt with you? This is the space right before clarity. The mind can only battle itself for so long before it has to choose. And when that moment arrives, the mask begins to fall. If they come back, it won't be because it's easy. It will be because they finally understand the value of what you shared, because they realize that some connections are rare and don't come twice. And if they walk away, it won't mean you weren't enough. It won't mean your love lacked depth. It will simply mean they weren't ready for the level of honesty and transformation that loving you required. That's why your role now isn't to chase or force anything. Let truth unfold on its own. Let time reveal what words cannot. Inside them, a heavy conflict is playing out. On one side, there's the pull toward you, filled with warmth, memory, and a deep sense of belonging. On the other side, there's a protective voice shaped by past pain, telling them to stay guarded and safe. These two forces are clashing, and the pressure is growing. They may try to hide it behind normal routines or distractions, but the more they push it down, the stronger it rises. Because the real struggle was never external, it has always been within them. And this is why the next step matters so much. You became a turning point in their life. Whether either of you fully understood it or not, this connection challenged the walls they built to protect themselves. It reached the version of them beneath control, beneath appearances. Now they're facing a difficult choice: stay within the limits of who they've always been, or step into a new version of themselves that requires courage, openness, and emotional risk. This inner conflict is exhausting them. It explains the inconsistency you've felt, the closeness followed by distance, the warmth followed by withdrawal. It's not always manipulation. Sometimes it's what happens when someone wants the connection but fears the change that comes with it. As this pressure builds, illusions start to fade. They can no longer pretend you were just a passing moment. They're being forced to see you more clearly and, more importantly, to see themselves. Memories resurface, emotions return with greater intensity. Even silence carries weight now. Even absence speaks louder. This process is uncomfortable but necessary. Real decisions don't come from avoidance. They come when clarity begins to replace confusion. And that clarity is forming now, even if it's still quiet. There comes a point when uncertainty becomes unbearable. They're reaching that point. Not because something external changed, but because the mind can't stay divided forever. For so long, they minimized their feelings. They told themselves it wasn't serious, that they could move on, suppress it, outgrow it. But feelings this deep don't disappear. They grow in silence. They wait. Now they're returning in late nights, in quiet moments, in unexpected memories. They're noticing how naturally their thoughts drift back to you, how your presence still lingers in the background of their life, how distractions fail to fill what feels missing. And your absence played a role in this. By stepping back, you created space. That space forced them to face their own thoughts. Without your presence softening things, they had to feel the full weight of what was gone. The comfort, the connection, the emotional depth. And this is important. When someone truly feels the absence of something meaningful, the question shifts. It's no longer, did it matter? It becomes, did I wait too long to admit that it did? In their quiet moments they compare, not always consciously, but it happens. What they felt with you versus what they feel elsewhere, and the difference keeps speaking. It's not about perfection, it's about depth, about how your presence made them feel seen, alive, emotionally awake. That's why this is changing them from within. They're moving toward a final decision because they can't remain halfway anymore. The path ahead demands honesty. Either they stay where it's comfortable and remain the same, or they step into the change this connection has been asking of them all along. Inside them, fear and desire are now face to face. On one side, the pull toward you, warm, natural, undeniable. On the other, the fear of vulnerability, of losing control, of being hurt again. That fear may come from the past, from old wounds, but it's still loud. And yet, for the first time, their desire is beginning to speak louder than their fear. That matters. It means something is shifting from defense toward truth. This is why the push and pull has felt so intense. One moment they feel ready to follow their heart. The next, fear pulls them back. Both sides feel real. That's the struggle. Their feelings are genuine, but their fear feels protective. So they remain in between, not because they don't care, but because they're trying to navigate the storm inside them. But no one can stay in that storm forever. Eventually, something gives. One side takes over. They will either let fear keep them distant, or they will allow their deeper feelings to lead them forward. This goes beyond a relationship. It's about identity, about deciding who they want to be moving forward. That moment is getting closer. Up until now, they've been stuck in hesitation, replaying memories, analyzing everything, trying to control something that goes beyond logic. But emotions, this strong demand resolution, everything you've been sensing, The confusion, the longing, the constant reflection has been building toward one unavoidable moment, a real decision. And as that moment draws closer, they may seem more unsettled than ever, even more withdrawn. Don't misread that distance. Sometimes distance isn't an ending, sometimes it's the final stage before truth can no longer be delayed. They're starting to realize that living in between, neither fully present nor completely gone, is draining them. It's emotionally exhausting. It traps them in a cycle that offers no peace. And now, they're being pushed to take ownership of what they feel. That requires honesty, and honesty removes every excuse they once relied on. They're being forced to ask themselves a difficult question. Are they willing to risk the comfort of the life they know for a connection that asks them to grow? There's a sense of finality in this phase. The uncertainty of maybe is fading, and something more definitive is taking its place. Deep down, they know this isn't just another fleeting connection or a temporary emotional experience. It's something significant, a moment that marks their life in a lasting way. What once felt like hesitation for protection is now beginning to feel like confinement. They're starting to see that avoiding a decision didn't keep them safe, it only kept them stuck. And that kind of stillness eventually becomes its own form of pain. Now the walls they once depended on are beginning to crack. They can see the gap between what they felt and how they acted. They remember the times they stayed silent when they wanted to speak, the moments they pulled away when they wanted to come closer, the times pride replaced honesty. This realization isn't easy, but it's powerful, because once that gap between feeling and action begins to close, change stops being optional. It becomes necessary. The truth is rising in a way they can't reshape or deny anymore. For a long time, they hid behind logic, distance, and silence. Those became their defenses. But emotions that run deep don't stay buried forever. When someone is left alone with their thoughts long enough, truth begins to surface above everything else. And that's exactly what's happening now. This isn't coming from outside pressure. It's coming from within. They can't hide behind uncertainty anymore. The connection keeps returning to them in quiet moments, when everything else slows down. No matter how much they try to focus elsewhere, it keeps coming back. And that repetition is changing how they see everything. What once seemed random now feels like a pattern. What once felt confusing now carries meaning. They're beginning to understand that they weren't just missing you. They were missing the version of themselves that existed with you. A version that felt more open, more real, more alive. And being disconnected from that version of themselves has become too painful to ignore. This is a turning point. When someone starts missing who they became with you, the question is no longer whether the connection mattered. The real question becomes whether they're willing to return to the truth it revealed within them. As this awareness deepens, distractions lose their power. They can stay busy, surround themselves with people, fill their time with noise, but underneath it all, there's still a quiet pull leading back to the same place, to you, to what was felt, to what remains unresolved. At this stage, the ego begins to lose its grip. The ego wants control, distance, and safety, but something deeper is waking up, something that understands that complete disconnection comes with its own kind of pain. And sometimes that pain becomes heavier than the fear of getting close. Now they're weighing two paths. One is familiar and safe, but emotionally empty. The other is uncertain, filled with risk, but holds the potential for something real. For the first time, that possibility is starting to feel more valuable than the protection. That's where courage begins, not when fear disappears, but when truth becomes more important than fear. And with that realization, something shifts. The restless energy of indecision starts to calm. The pressure is still there, but it feels different now, more focused, more grounded, more honest. They're no longer resisting every feeling. They're beginning to listen. They're starting to accept that what they feel is real. And that acceptance brings a quiet kind of peace, not because everything is resolved, but because the inner conflict is slowly turning into clarity. They're standing at the edge of their old life, looking toward a new possibility, and the only way forward is through one honest decision. This is a moment of transparency. The silence that once protected them is now reflecting everything back to them. It's showing where pride blocked love, where fear silenced truth, where avoidance created unnecessary distance. They're revisiting memories, conversations, even small moments, but now with deeper awareness. They can see where fear made their choices, and they can also see the value of what was trying to grow between you. This isn't just about regret, it's about re-evaluating what truly matters. Things they once prioritized, image control, emotional protection, are beginning to feel empty compared to something genuine. And something else is happening. They're developing empathy. They're starting to understand what their distance may have felt like from your side. They're recognizing the weight you carried while they stood back in uncertainty. That kind of awareness softens a person. It humbles them. It makes it harder to stay detached, because once responsibility enters the picture, everything changes. They're no longer just reacting to fear. They're beginning to take ownership of their next move. And when someone reaches that point, things become serious, not dramatic, not chaotic, just real. Because now they understand that whatever they choose next reflects who they truly are. The last pieces of hesitation are fading. The what-ifs and maybes are losing their grip. In their place, something stronger is forming, a sense of necessity. They must face what they feel. They must acknowledge what's real. They must stop remaining stuck. Time feels different to them now, more valuable, less endless. They're starting to see that staying frozen is also a choice, and often the most painful one. This clarity isn't just in their mind. It's something they feel physically. A pressure in the chest, a pull when they think about reaching out, about finally speaking or acting. Yes, the unknown still scares them, but the emptiness of staying disconnected is starting to feel even more frightening. And that's why movement is getting closer. Words they once held back are rising to the surface. Actions that once felt impossible are becoming harder to avoid. Because when truth becomes this loud, silence no longer feels safe. It becomes unbearable. Remember this. Whatever they do next won't come from a passing mood. It will come from a long, difficult process of facing themselves honestly. That's why this moment matters. It's not temporary, it's a reckoning. And reckoning changes people, quietly at first, then all at once. At the center of all this is one undeniable reality. You changed something within them. You reflected a version of who they could be. You became a mirror, a turning point, a steady presence during a time when they were lost within themselves. Even in silence, your impact remained. That's why their awareness is growing now. The noise is fading, the path is becoming clearer. The question is no longer whether this affected them deeply, it's when they will fully act on it. As this continues, their true feelings are separating from doubt. Layer by layer, the confusion is falling away until only the core truth remains. They're realizing that trying to control their emotions only made them stronger. Ignoring them didn't make them disappear. It gave them space to grow in silence. Now everything is coming into the light, and once truth is visible, it demands a response. Whether they move toward you or choose a different path, it won't come from confusion anymore. It will come from clarity. The noise within them is settling. In its place is a steady certainty that can't easily be shaken. They're facing themselves now, seeing clearly what they feel, what they lost, and understanding that pretending not to know is no longer an option. So if you've been feeling this shift, trust it. Something real is reaching its final stage. They're approaching a decision that will show whether they're ready to live from truth instead of fear. And your role in all of this is simple but powerful. Stay grounded, stay clear. Don't chase what is already being brought into the light by its own weight. Let them face their own heart. Let them feel your absence fully. Let them understand the value of your presence and the cost of pretending otherwise. Because this is what's happening now. Their inner conflict is turning into clarity. Their silence is turning into understanding. Their confusion is turning into direction. They're approaching a line they can't keep crossing back and forth. Soon, one truth will rise above everything else. One decision will outweigh every excuse that came before. And when that moment arrives, it won't just reveal how they feel. It will reveal who they are when life asks them for courage. If this resonates with what you've been sensing, hold on to that awareness. The next chapter is closer than it seems. Sometimes the quiet before truth speaks is the loudest part of the entire story. What makes this kind of situation so intense is that it isn't just emotional, it's psychological at a deep level. When someone encounters a connection that disrupts their usual patterns, it doesn't simply sit on the surface of their mind. It moves inward into the parts of them that are tied to identity, past conditioning, and the way they've learned to protect themselves. That's why it doesn't fade easily. It lingers, it reshapes thoughts, and it slowly starts to challenge everything they believed about themselves and relationships. In many cases, what they're experiencing isn't just about you as a person, it's about what you represent. You became associated with a version of life that felt more open, more emotionally alive, more real than what they were used to. That kind of shift creates tension because it exposes the gap between who they are and who they feel they could be. And most people don't immediately step into that gap. They resist it, not because they don't feel the pull, but because stepping into it requires letting go of familiar defenses. This is where the inner conflict becomes more complex than it looks from the outside. It's not just, should I reach out or not? It becomes, am I ready to stop being the person I've always been? That question carries weight. It forces them to revisit old wounds, past disappointments, and the beliefs they built around those experiences. If they've been hurt before, if they've learned that vulnerability leads to pain, then even something genuine can feel dangerous. At the same time, the human mind has a tendency to revisit unresolved emotional experiences. Psychologically, anything that feels incomplete tends to stay active in the background. It keeps returning, not to create discomfort for no reason, but because the mind is trying to reach closure or understanding. That's why your presence continues to echo in their thoughts. It's not random, it's their mind trying to process something that never fully settled. There's also something important about timing here. Sometimes people don't have the emotional capacity to handle something real when it first appears in their life. They may recognize the depth on some level, but they aren't ready to meet it with equal depth. So they delay, they withdraw, they rationalize. But time doesn't erase what's real. It often does the opposite. It removes distractions and forces clarity. As that clarity grows, their perception starts to shift. They begin to see their own behavior differently. Actions that once felt justified start to look like avoidance. Silence starts to feel like missed opportunity. Distance starts to feel like self-sabotage. And this shift in perception can be uncomfortable because in the end, everything comes down to truth. All the confusion, the silence, the distance, and the inner conflict have been leading to this one defining moment, a choice that can no longer be avoided. What they are facing now isn't just about you or the connection alone, it's about who they are willing to become. They can either remain within the safety of their old patterns, guided by fear and protection, or step forward into something real that asks for honesty, courage, and emotional openness. And no matter what they choose, it will come from clarity, not confusion. If they move toward you, it will be because they finally accepted the depth of what they feel and found the courage to act on it. If they walk away, it will be because they chose familiarity over growth, not because the connection lacked meaning. So your role remains simple but powerful. Stay grounded, stay true to yourself. Don't chase, don't force, and don't try to control the outcome. What is real does not need to be chased. It reveals itself in time. Because in the end, this isn't just about whether they return. It's about whether they choose truth over fear. And that choice will reveal everything. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss what's unfolding here on Jungian Pulse. And if you truly felt this, drop the word truth in the comments so I know it reached you.